Tonight, MacGyver is kidnapped by enemy agents and injected with a mind-altering drug that will kill him in 6 hours without the antidote. Can Sam, Mike, and Jeff get their acts together and not on each other's faces? Find out next on Making Fun of MacGyver. Making Fun of MacGyver, a rib-tickling takedown of our favorite 80s adventure show, Miami Vice. Oh, it's MacGyver, starring Sam Jordan as the skeptic, Mike Garland as the diehard, and Jeff Hess as the scientist.
Name's MacGyver.
Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We hope all the teen runaways you encounter are catching plenty of fresh fish. This is Making Fun of MacGyver, the show where we recap, review, and ridicule every episode of the original series. I am Sam Jordan, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by my two fellow MacGyverites, my poisonous pal, Mike Garland.
I was made just for you, Sam.
And my antidote amigo, Jeff Hess.
You know that this warping effect they do in the episode, it's really intense, and I'm wondering where that came from, because it's unpleasant, whoever designed that.
A sincere query for you fine folks. You guys ready to review this episode?
I have never been more ready, thank you, and I'm very excited to be here.
Ooh, she's a little runaway.
There you go.
There you go.
Well, good, because we're moments away from Making Fun of MacGyver, Season 1, Episode 11, Nightmares. But first, our opening gambit. Guys, we got some good news on the social media front.
Ooh.
Dudley from Different Strokes liked a couple of our tweets.
Really?
Shavar Malik Ross. I don't know. Can someone look up what was his name on that first, the pilot?
But the guy from the pilot.
The pilot.
Yeah.
The young, precocious Dudley from Different Strokes. Now, Shavar Malik Ross, actor, director, writer, photographer, retail entrepreneur. He's been on Different Strokes, Family Matters, and he starred in Friday the 13th, Part 5. He liked a couple of our tweets. Now, I followed his account first. You know, he saw that, and he liked a couple of them. Did anyone find that? No, it's taking too long, right?
No, I actually didn't even.
What was his name? What was his name?
In the episode?
In the episode, MacGyver's little pint-sized pal in the pilot. He's shooting hoops. So we appreciate that. Shavar Malik Ross. It's if you want to follow him, it is simply at Shavar, Shavar.
Open invitation to come on the show, Shavar. If you would like to come on and be a guest, we'd be happy to talk to you.
He was Reggie.
Reggie. Okay. Mike, you want to put that on your to-do list?
Let's try to
make a contact?
Now, I would say, wasn't Shavar a guest on the Phoenix Foundation podcast as well? So we'd be happy to have him. I think he was. The one.
Okay.
So when we first got this idea going, Sam, or you got the idea, I actually went back and I was like, okay, I want to hear what the Phoenix Foundation guys do and how they do that. Now, I listened to one episode and it was decent, but I'm like, I can't keep listening to all their episodes because I don't want to even accidentally mimic what they do. But this Reggie was on a particular episode, so he talked about like going to Henry Winkler's house or something like that. So it'd be cool to get him on and get some stories. So I'll try and tweet chase him down and see if we can book him on.
That's great. And we are on Twitter at Fun of Mac. Just look us up at Making Fun of MacGyver, on Facebook as well. Say hi. Get the conversation started, and if you like, we'll bring you on the show, and at some point we'll talk about one of your favorite episodes. Guys, we've got a new segment here, Viewer Mail. We got a letter here. It says, hey guys, I wouldn't say I love the show so far, but more so tolerating it like a mild but nagging foot injury. My question is this. I want to watch all of the original MacGyver episodes in sync with your show. Do I go with CBS All Access or buy the DVDs? Somewhat sincerely, Kevin in Saginaw, Michigan.
Well, all access is the easier availability and the lower entry point. It's only $5 a month, and they're going to have all the episodes. The downside is it's $5 over the course of like the next 4 years, which is how long it's going to take to watch all of these. So that's going to end up being several $100s. And I don't know what the DVD price costs, but I mean, at least if you pay for all access, you get access to everything else that's with it. So my suggestion is you go ahead and get CBS All Access, and you can then watch them at your pleasure and not have them crowding up your bookshelf.
Well, and I would counter by saying that if you're interested in purchasing the DVDs, a friend of mine, Ben Jones, who played Cooter on The Dukes of Hazzard, has an 80s themed shop where they sell die-cast cars and various DVDs and prop items from 80s TV shows, and they have the DVDs for sale as well. So whatever you choose to do, whether it's purchased from the Cooters brand or just through CBS All Access, go for it.
You're hiding the ball. What's the price? What's the price on the DVD set?
Oh, geez, I was trying to find it right quick. I didn't hide it. I just didn't get all the information.
Well, forgive me if I get my consumer goods from a site like Amazon and not Cooter's Marketplace. But I got the DVD set for $50, roughly, 55. So we've got all bases covered here. Jeff watches on CBS All Access. Mike, somehow, what'd you do? You have all of them on digital files?
I have them on DVD. Let's not get into why I have them on digital files. I have them on DVD. Through Cooters, it's $89.99, and I know that's a little bit higher than what you had mentioned, Sam, but I will tell you this. Sold out currently on the Cooters 80s theme shop, so there was such a demand from this that they're sold out.
Yeah, I watch them on DVD. I enjoy the experience. And let me tell you this, only season 1, but season 1 on Blu-ray is available. It's out there. It's at Target. It's on Amazon. It's about $35. I really considered that, but I don't want to just have one season and not the rest, and then I don't really want to buy every season, and who knows if they'll even make more seasons. But I've seen clips. Look, go to YouTube, MacGyver season 1 on Blu-ray. There is a vast improvement. The show was filmed, and I guess somehow, the stock has held up, so it looks good. This is not a sitcom from the 80s on Blu-ray, which they don't do. There is a market improvement on Blu-ray, on MacGyver Season 1 on Blu-ray.
So like they did with Star Trek, The Next Generation, they shot all this on film.
Yeah.
That. Well, I mean, then it's not a matter of even reviving anything. You can use the original film that they filmed it on to turn it directly into a digital copy. That's why all the Star Trek Next Generation Blu-rays look so amazing, because they were originally filmed like that. They're not having to be reprocessed.
All right, so there you go. Kevin, I hope that answers your question. If you want that convenient streaming, it's going to cost you $5 a month, and you get CBS All Access, whatever else they have, more Star Trek stuff, Picard, Twilight Zone's on there. I say go for the DVDs. Then you can just see you can hold MacGyver in your hands. I mean, Richard Dean Anderson is right there. Yes. Okay, gentlemen, let's go back to Sunday, January 15th, 1986. Our first time we were reviewing a MacGyver episode in 1986. So before we do that, I just want to tell you that the way 1985 ended up at the box office. I'm going to do a quick 10 to 1. How much money they made. Number 10, Spies Like Us, The Goonies, Witness, The Jewel of the Nile, Cocoon, Out of Africa, The Color Purple. Number 3, Rocky 4. Number 2, Rambo First Blood Part 2. Number 1, making $210 million. $60 million more than Rambo, Back to the Future.
Woo!
Mike's favorite movie.
It's a decent year, the movies.
I guess, but boy, a lot of those... Remember, we started doing this show in, September of 85. Mm-hmm. And boy, there were some stinkers there with, the Chuck Norrises and the Charles Bronson movies, but... So the number 1 movie for that week, Sunday, January 15, 1986, is Out of Africa. So that was probably released in December. An Oscar kind of thing. Epic romantic drama directed and produced by Sidney Pollack and starring Meryl Streep and Robert Redford. I've never seen it.
I have. It's good.
I bet my life Mike has never seen it.
Never.
I've seen it.
It's an odd feeling. Farewell. Men go off to be tested for courage. And if we are tested at all, it's for patience. For doing without, but I'd always known that.
Is life really so damn simple for you?
Perhaps I ask less of it than you do.
I don't believe that at all.
It's good,
Yeah.
but it's a total Oscar bait, sweeping epic masterpiece. Meryl Streep runs like a farm or a game reserve or something like that in South Africa, and it's good, but it's period drama. It's very big.
Yeah. And looking back in 1985 in music, looks like Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA was kind of the number one album and maybe the number one song, Careless Whisper by Wham.
Not singing it. No.
Okay. Well, we don't do that. So we only have you sing the number one song in the country for that week. And I don't know if we've ever done this, but the number one song in the country for the fourth week in a row is Say You, Say Me by Lionel Richie. So let's see if you've improved a little bit, Mike.
Say you, say me, say it for always. That's the way it should be. Say you. I'm done with this crap. No.
Okay. All right. And on ABC, 8 o'clock that night, it's MacGyver Season 1, Episode 11, Nightmares. All right. We've set the stage. We're in 1986, January, and we'll let Mr. Mike Garland take us on this audio adventure.
Well, we open the episode with a monologue from MacGyver talking about 80 decibels of water, the sound of 80 decibels of water running, something about being perfect for sleeping, resting, whatever. But, I mean, why listen to me try to summarize it? Here is the monologue itself.
It's a known fact that 80 decibels of rushing water is one of the most pleasing sounds known to mankind. On the other hand, 10.5 days at sea is enough water for anybody.
Okay, so we get this wide shot of a boat called the Gemstone. We see that title sequence, Nightmares, and there's ridiculous stock footage again, birds flying over the water as MacGyver is walking in this parking lot, and we see for the first time Pete Thornton, or the second time Pete Thornton, whatever. We now Dana Elcar is Pete Thornton in this particular episode. So, but a very unceremonious debut or introduction of the character. Like Pete's just there and he is delivered to us like he's always been there. And they interact in this parking lot. Sam?
Yeah, it was exciting to see Pete, and I didn't remember how he gets introduced. Now, of course, we saw Dana Elcar in the pilot, but he was not Pete Thornton. So Pete Thornton here is working for DXS. It's the fictitious agency, stands for Department of External Services. There is no such organization in the United States government. And, of course, this is Dana Elcar's second appearance in the series, but his first as MacGyver's future best friend, Pete Thornton. But it was, they didn't get into Phoenix Foundation. They didn't talk too much about their relationship. So it was kind of just this low-key introduction of Pete.
And as Pete's walking through this parking lot, we see a car pull up, which has some bad guys in it, and you get more stock footage of. We don't know they're bad guys yet, but we will shortly. More stock footage of boats and a tugboat pushing a big cargo ship. Jeff?
Did you skip past the little girl?
Haven't gotten to the little girl yet.
I thought you skipped past her. Never mind. Carry on.
Nope.
But, we take our time on this show.
Yes, we take our time for when I get to little girls. Come on, man. Come on.
Ooh, okay.
He asked, "Did you skip by the little girl?" No, I slowly stopped and talked to her. What do you want me to say?
Can I get back to Kevin from Saginaw, Michigan for a second? Kevin, no need to buy the DVDs or CBS All Access. Just use your imagination. We spell out every single detail of every episode right here. This is really the way to get the MacGyver experience.
All right. So anyway, as Mac's walking now, he goes past a young lady who's fishing. It was actually the next bit up, Jeff. She's using seaweed as her bait, which just seemed odd, but he stops and turns around and he makes a comment about how seaweed's not really good for fishing. And the girl says that, good lure is going to cost her a lot of money. And MacGyver finds a gum wrapper. He finds a gum wrapper and puts it on a hook and talks about how because it's shiny, fish are going to be attracted to it. And like the voiceover or the audio in this case with Richard Dean Anderson, MacGyver, as he's talking to who we learn is Lisa, sounded really bad on the production side. I don't know what it was like for you guys when you watched, but on my DVD or digital copy, it didn't sound good.
So these opening gambits are always ripe for does it MacGyver situations, and we are in the middle of a does it MacGyver situation. Can you catch fish with a gum wrapper?
Does it MacGyver?
Yes, you can catch fish with a gum wrapper. According to someone named John E. Phillips, who wrote a book called How to Catch a Crappie, How to Catch Them Spring and Summer. A crappie is a kind of fish. He says...
I thought the book was going to be called How to Catch Fish with a Gum Wrapper.
He says he thinks it's because it's shiny and silver colored like a minnow. He just wrapped it on there sometimes, and he was able to, he says, soon enough, I brought in more slab-sized crappie. So this little tip to this girl has probably saved her life, because MacGyver, like Jesus, has taught a man to fish.
So basically, he helped her catch a crappie fish.
I don't know what she's catching there, but the thing with the gum wrapper works.
Sam?
This girl, what's her name again?
Lisa.
Sorry. Lisa, played by Tommy Lauren. She's born November 16th, 68 in San Diego as Tommy Lauren Vasquez. I'm sorry, Tammy Lauren. Known for Wishmaster, Mork and Mindy, and Homefront. I did recognize her, though, and I think I looked down her filmography, and she was on a few episodes of like Family Ties. Did a lot of character actress, big in the 80s and 90s. Walker, Texas Ranger, Grace Under Fire, Martial Law, Home Improvement, The Drew Carey Show, Wanda at Large, The Young and the Restless, lots of stuff. But I didn't buy her as a teen runaway fishing on a pier. That just didn't. She didn't look right there.
No, I didn't. She was like either too old for the role, or I don't know what was going on there. And there's the pattern of MacGyver having had sex with his female partners, and she was on that bubble. I'm like, I didn't know if that's the direction they were going to go with it. So she was a little strange there as the runaways, when all the other runaways have been like 9.
Well, now she's like 52 in real life. So, I mean, you mentioned, Sam, her being born in 68. So, as he's helping her catch this fish, ultimately she explains that she's fishing for food, not for sport, and kind of humbly says that she can't really pay him for his help. But Max says, hey, just catch something and have some fun. That'll be payment enough. And like immediately the line with the gum wrapper, it's not even in the water 5 seconds, and some big stupid fish jumps on the hook. So obviously, like you said, that bit MacGyver's, and we move on now to Pete screaming Mac as they shake hands. And we've had this conversation before. I don't know if Mac constitutes an actual MacGyver, but we get the Mac right away. Pete and MacGyver shake hands. The bad guys that have pulled up in this car, they walk up on a goon who's eating, and this eating thing is going to become a pretty recurring theme throughout the episode with this one particular Goomba. But the bad guy's worried because, as he says, MacGyver is super elusive.
Where does this guy get all these sandwiches? Mike's alluding to it. I'm just going to come out and say it. Dude keeps pulling sandwiches out of his pockets throughout the entire episode. It's hilarious and perfect. And he has this look on his face like he snuck a sandwich. Like, how many sandwiches are in this guy's pockets? Stalin would put tomatoes in people's pockets.
He's like Wimpy from Popeye or something, and there's always a sandwich available.
So be on the lookout for the sandwich man of infinite pockets, or pocket of infinite sandwiches.
So Pete and MacGyver, they're walking and talking through the parking lot. Pete's on edge, though, because he says that the East Germans are a little bit upset over what MacGyver has done. Now, this certainly dates the time. East Germans. Of course, we had East and West Germany for a period of time. So the East Germans were all fired up because of the work that Mac's done. And Pete immediately spots some bad guys and says he's going to create a distraction so MacGyver can get away and get the list out of the way. Pete pulls out a gun and he immediately gets shot. Like, worst sidekick ever. Almost worse than that guy in Trumbo's world, because that gun wasn't out of Pete's pocket for a second. He was already nicked and down.
And Jeff, tell me if you agree with me. Was the first thing you thought of the fact that Mike might not mention this till like the last couple of minutes of the show?
Oh yeah, and by the way, Pete got shot.
I brought it up. I made a point to make a note of it. Pete gets
Good
shot.
job, Mike. That would have been sad if that was the end of Pete. Right there.
Yeah, they're not going to pull a Stubbins and Marlowe. And in my notes, it also says Pete goes down immediately. Like, way to go, Pete.
It's funny. I have the exact same words. Pete pulls the gun, immediately gets shot.
Yep.
Pete goes down immediately. So good job, Jeff. We're on the same page there. So MacGyver's on the run. The food-eating goon is chasing him. Mac takes a diving swing and hits him in the face with a bag, and both men go down. And then MacGyver pops up, kicks the bottom of this light pole to loosen it, like where all the wires and stuff would be. And this is where he puts this list. It almost looks like it's on a thumb drive, but clearly it's wouldn't have been a thumb drive then. But whatever it's in, a film canister or something, he puts it in the bottom of this light pole and starts to walk off. And he sees a cop in the parking lot. The bad guys are still chasing him and whatnot. He's thinking this cop can help him. He walks up and says something like, "You are an officer of the law. I recognize you." But immediately the cop gives him this weak-ass kung fu chop to the back of the head and knocks him down. and the bad guys drag MacGyver away.
How many people do you think got killed in the 80s thinking that a karate chop like that was going to knock somebody out? Like, you're getting mugged, and you're like, whoop, bap! And the person just looks at you like, what are you doing? Weak MacGyver.
The bar fight, right? You go to help out your friend who's getting picked on in the bar fight. I'll take care of this. What? Boom!
And he hits you and shakes his hand because it hurt.
Right, yeah.
So we're now back to Pete's office. He identifies one of the men as Kurt Nielsen, an East German intelligence guy. And he says that we all need to get the word out right away. And we cut to the bad guys who are now going through MacGyver's pocket. Of course, they find nothing. Nielsen pushing MacGyver to turn over this list. And MacGyver says that he can't remember where it is. Now, everybody's strapping MacGyver down into this chair. He's kind of letting it happen without a fight. Like, you're getting strapped down to a chair. I feel like you're going to resist a little bit more than what MacGyver was doing. But they're strapping him down to the chair, and Nielsen says there are many ways that he could use to get the info, but he shows MacGyver this needle. And MacGyver, upon seeing the needle, has all these different ways that he would prefer to be interrogated over the needle.
Hey, look, guys. I got this thing about needles.
Here's an idea. Why don't you just try dripping water on my forehead? The old rubber hose and bright light trick.
The list.
Hypnotism, it's been known to work. KGB uses it all the time. They got it down to a science. What do you say?
Nielsen stands up, loads the needle. It's the serum, that's going to make MacGyver hallucinate. Nielsen recognizes that MacGyver has really good veins. In fact, I think he says, like, you've got really good veins. And MacGyver's like, thanks. Like, there's just this weird side conversation there. Nielsen explains that there's going to be a burning sensation, but it'll dissipate shortly, and explains that the serum was specifically designed for MacGyver.
You're probably wondering about the effects of the injection. The initial effect is disorientation, double vision, hallucinations.
I was kind of hoping that's what this was.
When your mind clears in roughly 3 hours, the pain will become excruciating. And if that does not convince you to cooperate, this injection has a side effect. It will kill you. Of course, it can all be stopped with this antidote.
Yeah, a big leap of faith we got to take on this poisoning episode here. Like, it's gonna last 6 hours. Now, the first 3 hours, you're going to be in intense pain. Second, and then there's going to be 2 hours where you're kind of coming out of it. The last hour is going to be really crazy. But then you're going to want, like, wow, what kind of poison is this?
Well, and they give him this watch and everything. But, like, Sam pretty much summed up what I was going to say next, how they break down what the serum is going to do. And then in MacGyver's final moments of lucidity, if he doesn't get the antidote, he's going to die. So that's pretty much what it is. And Nielsen says it's Mac's choice to live or die. And that is the end of Axminster 1.
All right. It works for me in this non-Axminster episode. That was the first test. I'm fine with it. Jeff, what do you think?
Fine. I forgot all about it.
So we open Axminster 2. And MacGyver has now a take on dying. And we hear that monologue of his feeling on dying, and he's being walked up the steps by the two goons who tell him not to try anything funny. He's pushed into a room with a light and a cot and a bathroom stall. MacGyver is encouraging himself to think, think, MacGyver, think. And he's coming up with a plan. He's complaining about how his arm is hurting from the shot. And then he kind of transitions into talking about building a slingshot out of hockey sticks when he was a kid.
One time when I was a kid, I built a slingshot out of a couple of broken hockey sticks and an old inner tube. And you know, no matter how hard I practiced, I just could never miss my neighbor's window.
So now he's using springs from the cot, pipes from the toilet, I guess. He's heavily blinking his eyes, really trying to sell the effects of this serum here. And the springs look like two slinkies that he's attached to the cots. He's struggling to focus. And the food goon, by the way, we see the food goon. I think the food goon kind of looks like Rob Riggle. Not, but he kind of looks like Rob Riggle.
That is my next food truck. The food goon's coming by tomorrow at 7, kids.
And if you don't buy the food, the people behind the counter of the food truck are going to kick your ass with a kung fu chop. So MacGyver realizes that he has running water and a socket nearby. So he takes off his belt, removes the buckle, which he puts in his pocket. Like, I guess, do they still make belts like that where you can kind of take off the buckle part and save the buckle and the belt becomes its own independent strap?
I don't know if they still do, but Teenage Me had many of them.
Okay, all right. So he does that. He is now trying to use essentially the center part of the belt as a tube. And at first the belt is too short because what he's trying to do is put the belt on the faucet and then run it down to this electrical circuit box, circuit breaker, whatever. But since it's too short, he goes to the bottom of the sink, which even 80s era sinks had those U-pipes, I guess, the little catch area where the clogs are all supposed to congregate. And so he takes the U part of the drain pipe off, and now his belt can run from the U-joint of the sink pipe over to the socket. And the water's running, and for all the water that ran through that electrical thing, wouldn't it have shorted out by now? But it ran for a while, and the guys walk over to where the water's dripping, and this box finally sparks, and the goons open the door, and that's when MacGyver lets the thing go, and it blows the door with such force that the door comes off the hinges. The guys fly back, and MacGyver escapes, but he's really, really hallucinating and staggers off as the goons grumble about a broken nose.
So this is an obvious does it MacGyver moment.
Does it MacGyver?
I mean, come on. First of all, the thing with the bed. We just had this in the episode where he put the spring on the throttle body of the truck. The thing with the springs is they're good at coming back from compression, not from like necessarily springing themselves closed. So clearly those bed springs are not going to snap that bed back there like that. As far as running the water down into the electrical conduit like that it went down to a breaker box and exploded in these guys' faces somehow. It's ridiculous. It's unfortunate because this is the first of two really ridiculous MacGyver setups that are just sort of like someone standing in a room and they have 15 minutes to figure out what they're going to do rather than writers designing a good setup. So does not MacGyver, and try harder, 1980s writers.
So now Nielsen, as he gets together with his goons, are saying they must take him alive if they capture him. MacGyver staggering off, almost gets hit by a truck. Nielsen, though, confident that for at least the next 3 hours, Mac's mind is going to be scrambled. So
I wonder if that was a Mack truck.
Oh, there you go.
It was about to be, either way.
I guess it could have been.
A couple more feet.
Which is, I'm going to go on a side tangent here. Speaking of people getting hit by things, my buddy and I were riding bikes the other day. Dude rolled a stop sign, and my buddy almost got hit for sure. We both crashed. I think it was more like a sympathy crash on my end, but we both crashed. My buddy got like physically all scraped up, and I have $225 of damage to my bike, all from a guy rolling a stop sign. So just public service announcement, folks, when you come to a stop sign, just stop at it, please.
And you were not under the effect of any kind of wacky 6-hour poison?
No, not at that point I wasn't.
A little later.
Last night I was under the effects of some sort of poison, but it was more self-induced, and it lasted through mid-afternoon today. But regardless, stop at all stop signs, please. Anyway, so now after Mac almost gets hit by the truck, staggering along, down on his knees, clinging to a fence, he sees some people but can't really see clearly who they are. But we see that it's the fishing girl, Lisa, from earlier. But her friends think that she should move on and thinks that, Mac's a drunk and he's some weirdie. But she wants to go help, and her friends again say, no, you're a runaway, Lisa, keep moving. But she runs over to help him. They walk off, and she says, hey, it's me from the docks this morning. She recognizes that Mac's in trouble and wants to get help, and he says, no, she sees a cop, and she wants to get the cop for help, but then Mac's kind of like flashing back and thinks of the Kung Fu cop and does not want to involve the police. So he falls down again, but she helps him up, all while saying that she's probably going to regret helping. A really short act, the end of Axminster 2.
All right, let's take a break here. Guys, we're going to take a break from the time capsule commercial feature where we play a commercial from 1985 or 86 at this point. And we got special sponsor this week. It's Hear This Word from fine folks at Soon Parts.
Is your excavator not excavating? Is your bulldozer not dozing? Is your backhoe loader only loading holes from the front? If these problems are affecting you and you need help soon, come to Soon Parts, the official construction machinery parts supplier for making fun of MacGyver. Soon Parts has been one of the professional suppliers of construction machinery parts for many years and have a large manufacturing base within China. The implication of Soon Parts in Chinese is Sudu Newly Parts, which means that we are committed to provide rapidly you with right parts, reasonable prices, and guaranteed services. We have lots of warehouses with thousands of parts for different brands. All of them are available in stock and will to be shipped to you soon. Come to Soon Parts for engine parts, cylinder head gasket, valve seat, valve guide, rocker arm, valve spring, valve seal, intake and exhaust valve, injectors and nozzle, cylinder liner, piston overhaul kits, piston ring, camshafts crankshaft, connecting rod, thrust plate, main and con rod bearings, oil pump, overhaul gasket, starter motor, alternator, injection pump, fuel pump, turbocharger, stop solenoid, sensors, thermostat, fan and radiator, water pump, belts, water separator, hydraulic parts, hydraulic pump parts, travel motor parts, hydraulic hose, main and relief valve, coupling solenoid valve, sensor, gear pump, swing bearing, joystick and pilot valve, shaft bearing, hydraulic fitting, universal joint, undercarriage parts, track roller, sprocket, bucket tooth, chain, idler, chain guard, other accessories, electronic parts, solenoid valve, throttle motor, sensors, controllers and monitors, pressure switch, solenoid coil relief valve, ignition switch, relays, lamps, wiper motor, cab parts, lock, glass and accessories, cab assembly, cover, joystick controller, condenser, seal kits, arm cylinder seal kit, boom cylinder seal kit, bucket cylinder seal kit, main valve seal kit, control lever seal kit, main pump seal kit, adjust cylinder seal kit, swing motor seal kit, swivel joint seal kit, travel motor seal kit, O-ring box, floating seal, maintenance accessories, fuel filter, oil filter, air filter, hydraulic filter, water separator. We have all these and more. We serve all products, will be well packed before shipping. Shipping with 1 to 3 work days, Sundays and holidays except. We always use high quality material, advanced machines, skilled technicians to ensure quality. We have the best after sales service. Need parts soon? Come to Soon Parts, the official construction machinery parts supplier for making fun of MacGyver.
All right, thank you for that, Soon Parts. You know, Soon Parts, this show has become one running inside joke, and I don't know if we deserve to have that many inside jokes, but what was it, about 6 weeks ago? We had a random Facebook follower called Soon Parts. We're like, what is this? Who is this? And it appeared to be a Chinese, some kind of construction, manufacturing, machinery company that followed our page, making fun of MacGyver, when we had 5 other people, and we knew all of them following our our fan page. And then we lost them. A few weeks later, we lost them, but we still got a commercial out of them. So there you go, Soon Parts.
That was a lasting relationship that we had with them.
So
it's like that breakup that you just can't get enough of.
I did get their check in the mail at the Making Fun of MacGyver headquarter offices. I shredded it because we don't need their money. I told them. And so I'm sorry you did all that work and they paid all that money for it, but we're not getting any of it because I shredded that.
Well, it's still where I go for all my main and con rod bearings and camshafts crankshaft. So there's that to be said. Anyway.
Are we ready to start Axminster 3?
Axminster 3, let's do it.
All right. So we have Lisa now helping Mac through an alley. We're cutting back to Nielsen and his goons talking about finding Mac, and Lisa's helping him through this fence, and we're going back and forth between her helping him and Nielsen talking about Mac's fate. And Nielsen even has a comment about all of MacGyver's problems.
MacGyver cannot escape. Each second that ticks away cuts him like a knife. He must come back to me if he is to live.
Lisa has helped Mac inside this abandoned building, and they move past some like bells, cans, whatever, and she says it's her burglar alarm. Mac and Lisa now in her room, so to speak. I mean, it's whatever she's squatting in. She pours some water and hooks up a battery to make some light, and she says she got it from an old car, and she's trying to help Mac with his memory, but he can't remember anything. She gets the fish out of her cooler that he helped her catch earlier in the day, and she's asking him to use a knife to scale and gut the fish, and she says that Mac is kind of like her, that they make do with the things that they have.
I will say, for what this is, we love to make fun of this show. It's in the title, right? I will say MacGyver and the makeup crew are doing a good job of, Richard Dean Anderson is doing a good job of conveying a man who is losing his mind and suffering. He's pale, sweating, they got bloodshot eyes, so that part was believable. I was feeling a little disoriented. Might have been my dinner, but no, probably not. I think it was the episode. So I will give them credit on that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, he looked terrible. He's stumbling all over the place. Everybody's making fun of him.
Yeah, I mean, he was selling the part really well, and the people on at least the special effects or makeup side really tried their part. So I give them a 9 out of 10 mullets for their efforts.
Did we get to the part where she talks about how her father and her parents were beating her?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll be ready.
Okay. Well, so they're talking, and as she's trying to kind of help him along, they're back and forth talking, and he asks if she's in trouble. And this is where, Sam, she explains that she's a runaway, that her dad used to beat his wife, and she was in the middle, and that they both turned on her, and how she had gone to the cops, but they were ultimately no help. And once she was back in the mix, the dad started beating on her, and that's when she ran away.
She has one line that is my line of the episode.
So they got me home, and my dad got his act together all right. On my face.
He got his act together on my face.
Yeah, it was. I mean, child abuse is still very much a real thing, and it's, scary sometimes like that.
Okay, yes, I'm not denying that. But got his act together on my face, I believe, is a series of words that no one has ever put together before and said them in a sentence.
It was weird.
I don't think.
It's a weird thing to say.
See, I try to take the serious angle and not joke about child abuse, and you guys are both like half chuckling through her copy there.
I mean, it's in the show title. We are legally bound. Soon Parts expects us to make fun of MacGyver. No one should get their act together on anyone's face.
I took the high road on that one. So he's having MacGyver's still having issues, but Lisa's talking about having this plan and how she wants to get some school books, wants to make something of herself. And then you have the goons that have found Lisa's house. And by the way, the food goon is still eating food. MacGyver tossing and turning in bed, having some flashbacks to what happened. He's seeing things. Nielsen walks in a room, has this pillow to put over the face. And he's just having a nightmare. Like they're trying to sell it as somehow Nielsen has come in and is trying to smother out MacGyver, but he was just having a nightmare here. Lisa checks on him, and for whatever reason, he's starting to flash back to everything that had happened. And ultimately, he remembers what's what now and looks at his watch and says that he's got about 90 minutes left to live, or sees that he's got about 90 minutes left to live. And this is when all of a sudden the proverbial light bulb goes off because he remembers his name. His name, of course, MacGyver. And he starts to explain to Lisa what's up.
I don't have much time.
You have less time than you think. I came to tell you that there are 3 guys outside snooping around.
Lisa's alarm goes off, the burglar alarm, so to speak, because the goons have found her, and you now have a lucid MacGyver starting to build a diversion. He grabs 2 chairs, her car battery, a TV tube, transistor radio, and some jumper cables, and he has this deal set so that when they push the door open, it will kersplode.
So this is an obvious Does It MacGyver setup regarding the battery and the television here.
Does it MacGyver?
Yes, this does MacGyver. Cathode ray TV, like you see there, the big old school CRT TV, has a very high-powered transformer that's used in the process of boosting an electron beam to the required level. As a result, that thing, the cathode ray, is in a a vacuum tube, and any fracture or failure in that vacuum tube could look like an explosion. So this does MacGyver.
Hang on a sec.
Uh-oh, are you calling it into question?
Well, IMDb, I saw something. IMDb says, we don't know who says it, a 12-volt car battery could not cause a television picture tube to explode, but sparks could ignite hydrogen gas produced by the battery, causing the battery itself to explode.
But the battery she had there was way more than a 12-volt battery. That was a big, beefy, huge battery.
Okay.
That's
shame on you, random IMDM. I can't speak.
Yeah, I mean, you would need a lot of juice.
Just 4 letters and you couldn't spell it right?
But I play a little loose sometimes with these, like if they're in the ballpark. And so this is in the ballpark. You know, the explosion's more dramatic than you would expect. But like that kind of stuff I overlook. The basics are there.
So essentially what you're saying is you again Googled a way to explode things.
It's a way a thing explodes, not that I was Googling how to explode it.
Okay.
It's a fine distinction in the law.
So, by the way, the radio he snags, he turns on some generic rock music, and it seems like the kind of same stuff he played for Yana.
Yana!
You rock and roll, all right.
Just ought to get him up here in a hurry. Let's go.
Anyway, so...
I mean, guys, I was alive in 1986. Not that many people under the age of 60 were listening to transistor radios even back then. No one's like, yeah, turn up the rock, the tiny treble rock music. So this is the second time we got heavy rock music being played through a tiny little handheld radio, which most people even weren't doing in the 80s. So,
like maybe you were taking those little transistors to baseball games so that you could listen to the ball game while you were there. But
right, talk radio.
Besides that, so I mean, ultimately the point was the music was to draw the bad guys in so that when they push the door open, that's where you'd have the payoff to the explosion. So Mac and Lisa are out and on the run. He finds a fire hose and he's trying to drop it out the window. And what they're going to try and make you believe is that they're going to go out the window, which is what they want the bad guys to believe as well. So they run in the room and they look out the window. They don't see him there. But before they leave the room, they're like, oh, let's check this closet here to make sure they weren't hiding in the closet. And it was actually the food goon that had that idea. So he checks the closet. They're not there. But he did not check under the couch that happened to be on the other side of the room. And that's where they were hiding. And they are out of the building and on the run or on the walk, if you will. And MacGyver explains to Lisa about how she needs to get a hold of Pete. You know, call Pete at the federal building. And he gives her this whole rundown of what she needs to do. MacGyver back to the warehouse now. And he's trying to find the cure for his troubles. And it's weird. The music that was playing was almost like romantic MacGyver music as he and Lisa are parting ways. Like the Kenny G sort of, MIDI MacGyver music from the time. And he says, I've got 1 hour and 7 minutes left.
Will you do it for me?
Yeah, I'll do it. Where are you gonna be?
I'll be at the warehouse. Hopefully I've got enough time to find a cure for all my troubles. Get out of here, will you?
And we wrap up Axminster 3 with that romantic music.
So I think they were going for sad saxophone and not sexy saxophone. But in the 80s, the difference, real thin line between sad saxophone and sexy saxophone.
Okay. I like that breakdown.
Yeah, saxophone in general, for decades, right, just kind of introduces, here's a siren appearing on screen. So to have it with this girl, I was like, ooh, I don't know if that was the right choice, guys.
And it's not the first time we hear that type of saxophone in this episode. It comes up a little bit later on. We go into Axminster 4. MacGyver, staggering down the street, leans against a truck, and he sees the food-eating goon across the way. We're back at the warehouse where he initially was injected with the serum, and he runs across the street, now behind a trailer. Food-eating guy has more food. He's chomping away on a sandwich. He's distracted by his food, and MacGyver has an opportunity to sneak in behind him. He handles the valve stem of a car with some sort of nail or whatever, and he jams that nail in, and the hissing sound kind of gets the attention of the food goon. And as he walks over, MacGyver then kicks open the car door and knocks this guy out for the second time in this episode. So that guy's down again. MacGyver offers like a bit of an eye shrug as he closes the door and walks towards the warehouse. And we are now inside the warehouse.
He got cold cocked by the cold cuts that he had.
Yeah.
That was a cool little action sequence. That caught me off guard, and I guess they have the guy bend down much further away from where the door is going to open, but that looked pretty legit right there.
Yeah, it was good.
And thanks to MacGyveronline.com, I can tell you that this warehouse building is at 424 Seton Street, Los Angeles, California.
Added info, extra research, Sam. Good job.
No problem.
So MacGyver plotting yet another diversion as he is encouraging himself to.
All right, MacGyver, think. Rope. A smoke alarm.
That way, I got to stop right there. How often do you say your name in your head when you're having the inside thought bubble? Now, once you go, okay, Mike, where did I put those keys? But would you say, okay, Mike, now where did I put that milk? Okay, Mike, now I really should, go out and exercise today. He is dropping his own name to himself like multiple times.
No, my personal thought bubble includes multiple curses and encouragement from that standpoint. Like, what the F did you do with that thing? Come on, you a-hole, let's go.
But you're never saying your name when you think about what, right?
No. I mean, I think about other people's sometimes what I'm thinking. Not my own name, but no. Yeah, you make a good point. So MacGyver rigging this mechanism. Oh, but jump back. We cut to Lisa on the phone. She's trying to get this message to Pete. MacGyver moving 2 pieces of plywood into place, and he's struggling to do so now. Maybe a little strength issue. And we had a flashback to the Damone episode. More wood in his diversions here with these plywood. MacGyver rigging the mechanism that's going to drop on the bad guys. Rope over a beam. Water jugs attached. Pete, by the way, finally gets the message, and he and one of his associates go out of the office to try to save MacGyver. In the meanwhile, Mac has caused this fire alarm to go off in the warehouse where they are, and Nielsen sends 2 goons in, and MacGyver kind of turns himself into those guys, but kicks a bunch of more barrels on your behalf, Sam, and the tops and the bottoms of the barrels fall onto the bad guys, punches them both on the run.
I gotta totally contest how you described how that MacGyver trap went down, because this is a Does It MacGyver moment, and he didn't kick the barrels. He wrenched the first of all.
Oh, the pulling.
Yeah, he should just drop the jugs on the guy. If you're going to get the jugs into the air, just drop them on the guys. But what he did is he was standing on the rope holding the jugs up, and when he let it go, they fell into the board that knocked the barrels over.
It's like a Rube Goldberg kind of thing.
Yeah, so he really is channeling that episode where he set up the saw blade machine gun.
Well, he's so considerate. He's definitely not going to shoot you no matter what you're threatening to do. If you blow up the world, he's still not going to shoot you. But he wouldn't just drop, 2 40-pound water jugs on you. He's going to have them roll into your legs, take you out, and then you'll bumble around for probably 40 seconds with that.
Soften the blow, if you will. So he throws a couple of haymakers. Nielsen, by the way, comes out after MacGyver's turned himself in. MacGyver lunges at Nielsen, tackles him through the door. They're fighting outside of the warehouse, by the way, as he's trying to get the antidote. Nielsen's trying to keep it from MacGyver, and you hear sirens coming, and Mac makes the comment that those sirens are coming for you, but Nielsen continues to talk smack. Lisa is behind him, and they both watch Nielsen throw the antidote down a drainage grate. MacGyver throws one last haymaker into Nielsen's face, and there's blood rolling down his lip, and he's kind of knocked out.
Before you describe what happens, how did you think they were going to get this antidote out from under that grate, based on what you've seen in this episode?
I do something that would involve picking up the grate lid and then go into the drain itself is kind of how I thought that would go.
I thought somehow the gritty, grimy Lisa was going to some underground tunnel sewer way to get
Or this is a fishing pole moment. Like they introduced her with the fishing pole. I'm like, oh, this is perfect setup. She's going to get in there with that fishing line. Let's see what happens, Mike.
Well, so what happens now is with Nielsen out and Mac and Lisa looking down the drainage grate at the antidote, you have MacGyver struggling with every last bit of his being, but he's off to rig a mechanism again that will hopefully get the antidote, and he comes back with a pipe. And he kind of gives the explanation to what he's trying to do. So ultimately, he has, after we've just heard the explanation, created a magnet.
What are you doing?
The impact causes temporary molecular structural alignment in iron. All the ions run to the other end.
What?
Just made myself a magnet.
He sticks the pipe down the drainage grate, struggles with catching the antidote. Somewhat ironic that an episode that began with a fishing bit wraps up with fishing of sorts. I mean, he is kind of fishing, but not from Lisa. First attempt is a failure. He drops the antidote. Apparently, this thing still has enough magnetic force in the pipe, though, to try again. He scores the antidote, pops the pill with 2 minutes left on his watch, and Lisa holds him as we fade now to the dock where everything started. Sam?
And you guys probably know that when you are laying pipe, you usually only have a couple of minutes to give it your best shot. You know, you're gonna lay the pipe in there carefully, but you want to navigate to the right spot. You know, it's very precarious. And then you want to pull out at the right time. He pulled out at one time too quick.
But he still had enough ammo, if you will, in the pipe.
Yeah. And then just went back in a little bit more. Then he pulled it out. But yeah, I think.
And then he swallowed.
And then he swallowed the antidote. Yeah.
And everything was better.
So does it MacGyver?
Does it MacGyver?
So what he does is he whacks that rod on the concrete. It's like, oh, I'll just make a magnet. And at first I'm like, this is ridiculous. You cannot just hit a piece of metal and turn it into a magnet. Turns out you can just hit a piece of metal and turn it into a magnet. So one of the ways you create a magnet with an iron rod is you get it facing north-south and you hit it with a hammer. And literally the little whatever's atoms and stuff in there reorient themselves in the direction, and that's how you can create a magnet. Other ways to create a magnet are running electrical current through it, which we've had in the show before. You can rub another piece of magnet on it and turns it into a magnet. But in this case, you really have to keep the rod vertical in the correct orientation or facing north-south. Like, the important part is that the rod stays stationary when you hit it. So you cannot just smack the end of the rod on the concrete and turn it into a magnet. So while you can hit a piece of metal and create a magnet, you cannot do it this way. So this does not MacGyver.
That's kind of fascinating, though, that would work to any extent.
I thought so too, because my initial thought was, well, normally when you hit magnets, they lose their charge. So there's no way this would work. And then when I researched it, there people just like turn it into magnet, and it's not a very effective magnet. I mean, but it's a neat quirk of how that works.
So as we had faded, Lisa and Mac are at the dock. We fade out, but we come back, and Mac's at this light pole, the same one where he stashed the information. He talks about that the information he retrieved, mentions that it's gonna do a lot of good for some people, and he also says that he talked to Pete, and that Pete is going to try to set up some sort of scholarship for Lisa. They embrace. They walk together arm in arm off to who knows where, and that's the end of the episode.
All right, let's rate Nightmares.
Name's MacGyver.
As always, it's on our 1 to 10 mullet scale, 10 being the ultimate episode of MacGyver, and 1, I guess we can do a 0 too. Our lowest score ever combined is we've thrown up a bunch of 4s and 3 for the heist. But we're slumping a little bit here. We got, 2 for Trumbo's World. 2 for Trumbo's World.
Your most favorite episode had like the worst rating ever.
So, Jeff, why don't you start it off?
Man, this is just lackluster. There's nothing particularly offensive about it. Execution's fine. MacGyvering's really kind of boring. The motivations of the bad guys are, it's just lackluster, but it's fine. So it's a 5 mullet situation.
Mike?
I was going to say, kind of middle of the road, average, nothing, move the ions and neutrons in my poll one way or the other. But I was going to go with a 4 or 5, and I won't disagree with Jeff. I'll give it a 5 mullet rating.
All right. I was losing interest a few times. I think anytime he's in a room by himself for more than 45 seconds, I'm like, okay, come on, let's get some dialogue. So when he's in the cell and he's got the coils, and I feel like that was a good couple minutes of just seeing him in that room, and I lose a little bit of interest there. There was really we'll get to the low point of the episode in a minute, but there was really nothing too laughable here. And I know we gave Trumbo's World a 2 because there was so much laughable stuff, but there was nothing really too much to make fun of here. It just didn't interest me too much. So I'm going 4.
Yeah, I thought about it when I was watching it, that it felt sluggish. Like, for a guy facing a countdown, so if you ever see like the movie Crank, which is a similar situation where you're facing a countdown list and get a drug, and it's like this panicked pace, and it was saggy, you know?
This one's rated 5 out of 10 mollusks.
So that averages out to the 5, and we've rated, 14 or so, 11 episodes, and our average rating, anyone want to guess what the average rating for all 3 of us is for each episode?
Individually or combined?
4.
Combined.
Probably a 4 or a 5.
Yeah, 4.8 is what we're averaging here. So,
okay.
All right. Now let's tally up all the times someone said the word MacGyver.
Including the man himself.
Yes. He, I don't know. No, he didn't lead the way this time. It was definitely the evil henchman, the evil bad guy who enjoyed dropping it a few times.
That's right, because I had asked you to keep an eye on the amount of times he said it himself. Because I felt like that did stand out. But if you kept that separate category, that'd be a fun little bit. But if you don't mind, can I go first?
You can go first. I will tell you, I also averaged these out. So for the first, 10, 11 episodes or so, it's 16.6 times average per episode.
Every 3 minutes.
So what do you think was this one, Mike?
I think it was like 8. I'm going to go with 8.
Oh.
Felt low.
Oh, you're way too low. It's definitely like 16 or... Now I'm going to go with 18.
Boom! Jeff nails it.
18!
Mike, I don't know what you were watching, Mike. 18 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt heavy.
The lead baddie said it about 9 times or so. He had a sequence of about 3 in about 30 seconds.
Well,
but
that's a lot.
It is.
That'll bump your 16 point whatever average up to 16 point whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Math.
All right, and how about a low point? For this episode, what was the weakest moment? So I have, but I don't know if this is a low point. I have the guy eating, but I think that's kind of,
my favorite part.
It is my favorite part, and they know what they're doing with that. So I don't think that's anyone messing up or just 80s cheese. But I couldn't. Is it the karate chop? Is the one karate chop knocks Mac out? What do we think was the weakest moment in this episode?
Well, I'm definitely going with Pete going down like a little pussy. He goes, yeah, he goes down so bad, and he looks down. It's like the slightest little graze, and he's just like, it's like Pete, man. Pete comes up clutch later, but going down like that, it's not a way to make an entrance.
He was so confident that he was going to take out both guys. He's like, you get that thing out of here. I got both guys. Yeah. He never gets a shot off before he gets shot, and he's down.
MacGyver says, which one do you want? And Pete goes, both. I'm like, Pete? Oh, my. And then just gets wiped out immediately.
Low point for me, I don't know. I'm fascinated, fixated, disappointed, whatever, with this shitty B-roll footage that you see all the time.
Oh yeah,
the opening cuts of the birds flying in the boat dock and all of that stuff. So I guess I should know to expect that at this point. There's not a second unit that's going to go shoot legit B-roll at the neighboring dock. They're just going to find it from some other produced piece that exists in their vault. But I'll go with that.
Yeah, at this point, if the B-roll footage is less than 20 seconds, it's impressive with the first season of MacGyver, right?
Yeah.
All right, so a split on the low point, and I think that's it. Any other final words about this nightmares? Which this episode will not give us nightmares. I think in a matter of 2 months, we will totally forget this episode, but so be it.
I got nothing.
I've already forgotten it.
You don't even know what you're doing here. Why is there a microphone in front of my face?
Yeah, I mean, I just start talking.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for listening to Making Fun of MacGyver. We really appreciate it. Check us out on Twitter and Facebook. Say hi. And Shavar Malik Ross, thank you again for the Twitter love. And let's make him, I think we should have him be the first guest because he's in the first episode of MacGyver and probably the only actor we could get.
My daughter was on our show, Sam. She was our first guest.
Okay, that's true. So I guess we'll keep all the guests young, right?
Why not? A kid sidekick. I had Abby. We'll have Reggie.
Shavar Malik Ross.
Reggie.
I think he probably prefers to go by his real name than Reggie, but and definitely not Dudley from Different Strokes. We got to stop that when we get him on. We do not say, "Hey, what's up, Dudley from Different Strokes?"
I love how you say the whole thing, not just Dudley. It's Dudley from Different Strokes.
All right, guys, it was fun, and we'll see you next time on Making Fun of MacGyver. Peace.
So they got me home, and my dad got his act together all right. On my face.